A Plague Tale Innocence is one of the free games on Epic this week. Released originally in 2019 to rave reviews, the game is described as a heart-rending journey through one of the darkest periods of history. I mean, Sean Bean did one of the trailers for it, so it's gonna get bonus points for that right off the bat. And unlike a lot of games these days, it's actually getting a sequel, A Plague Tale Requiem, which was announced at E3. I will note at this point the game has a mature or 18 rating depending on the part of the world. The game's story is set in 1349, the plague is ravaging France, and the story follows Amicia and her brother Hugo. Born into French nobility, they are being hunted by the Inquisition through various lands and villages devastated by the disease, finding various allies and enemies along the way, all the while avoiding the swarms of plague-infested rats. The story has some supernatural elements, but no spoilers. The two siblings had little contact before the start of the story, but Amicia quickly finds herself guardian of her younger brother, and the story sets off from there. The focus of the game is your journey through fairly linear levels, avoiding the Inquisition and rat swarms. It's a longer story-driven title at around 10 hours long, which is pretty good. Unlike many games, you can't use brute strength and combat to win out every fight, and stealth will be your main ally during your journey. The game relies on various puzzles involving fire and light, often via Amicia's alchemy to progress past obstacles. These puzzles are not difficult, and the game makes it fairly clear what you should be doing in each situation, as there tends to be only one way to do things. So in general, light and fire scare away rats, and with the slingshot you can light things at range. On the other side you can also put things out at range and cause rats to swarm Inquisition knights, for example. And indeed, in a pinch, Amicia can knock out knights or kill them with her slingshot. I'm not quite sure how she kills people with a slingshot, but it's pretty impressive. And speaking of the slingshot, you will use this a lot in puzzles and in other situations alongside your alchemy, for which there is obviously crafting, and you will find various materials, which are pretty plentiful in the game. The recipes are fairly basic and relate to those abilities, and you will use that on a fairly regular basis to progress. The materials will also be used for upgrading your items, namely your slingshot and your pockets, because everyone needs deeper pockets, right? One area of the game that is a little bit odd are the boss fights. As a game that generally avoids fighting, this puts you into a situation where you are in a closed area with a boss and must attack them with your slingshot or other abilities to progress and kill them. This is the only part of the game which seems a little bit out of place. Granted, you must still avoid being hit, as it's still likely a one-hit kill situation for you. So in relation to that, there are two things to mention. One is the combat, to be fair, is a wee bit clunky because the game isn't based around it. So that's something to bear in mind. I think the final thing to mention, which I haven't touched on again since the start of this video, is the fact that the game has an 18 or mature rating. This game will not be for every gamer because it doesn't shy away from showing some very gruesome scenes. It is very true to what it would be like at the time. So if you come across a battlefield, there will be bodies strewn everywhere. You will see lots of bits of bodies, you will see lots of blood and gore. You will see lots of other upsetting scenes. So if that's not your thing, then probably avoid this one. But it's done in a way that does fit very well with the setting. And I suppose it's a bit of a Marmite thing, you either love it or you hate it, and I think they've done it very well. Graphically, the game looks stunning and was one of the best looking games of its time back in 2019. From the characters and their animations to the world around them, it looks fantastic. The effects in particular, the flames and the smoke or fog, are very impressive, along with their associated lighting effects. The only thing that doesn't really work is the lip syncing of the characters to their voiceovers, and that even applies to the native voiceovers of the game. Sound-wise, however, generally speaking, the background music is solid and fitting to the game. The sounds themselves are very well done, notably the rat swarms for both their squeaking and the noises of them eating people alive. In summary, if you enjoy a more stealthy, story-driven adventure title, with more focus on evasion than outright combat for the most part, this is certainly one for you. If you don't usually go for that kind of game, I would still recommend actually trying it. It's a very good looking game with a solid, well-told story, and the mechanics that they have in there for combat and for progressing through the story are actually quite enjoyable. That said, the game is not without its faults. The puzzles are very obvious and the entire game is very linear, so you don't have much freedom, you are just sort of following the developer's plan for the most part, including with the puzzles and your abilities. A Plague Tale Innocence gets 4.5 out of 5 from me. While there are these few flaws, overall it is a very unique title and it provides an exceptionally long story compared to much of the competition. Grab it free this week on Epic Games Store from the 5th to the 12th of August. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Please do like, share and subscribe. Comment down below what you think of this game once you've had a go yourselves, and I'll see you all soon for another epic review.